Go. All right. Okay, to any fan that is actually out there still trying to watch this craziness, we've started again. So let's see how much we can get through here, Ted.
All right.
We were talking about Michigan.
Yep.
So Michigan has a solid win against Penn State. I don't think they looked great by any means. They looked solid. They had a very good run game, as they always do. Their defense was good. I think that's as much about Penn State's offense as it is the Michigan defense. I don't know if you saw, but Penn State fired its offensive coordinator
Yeah.
this week.
Well, Michigan didn't even throw a pass in the second half.
It was, Bo Schembechler was smiling
Yeah,
from the grave.
right.
God bless
Yeah.
him. So,
Well, they threw 8 passes, and that was at least 3 too many.
well, and I've heard people say that J.J. McCarthy is an NFL prospect. And I don't know. To me, he's a very good college quarterback. I still don't see enough to make him a pro, but those guys get paid to think about talent. But let me ask this question, Ted: how much of an impact, if it is strictly him not being at all associated with the game, he's not on the sideline, he's not talking to any of the coordinators, he's completely disconnected from the team on game day in those 3.5 hours they're on the field. How much of an impact do you think that has on the team?
That's really hard to say. I mean, is he calling plays? Is he calling he is making the decisions on, are we going for 2? Are we challenging a call? Those kinds of things. And maybe he says things that get them all amped up, but in terms of by and large calling plays for either offense or defense, that's usually not their job.
Well, and I don't know if you watch. I mean, if you watch the game, there was the offensive coordinator. I don't remember the gentleman's first name, but his last name was Moore, and I think he was also the acting
Yes,
head coach.
he's the head coach. Yeah,
But he's clearly the play caller. I don't think Jim Harbaugh, even when he's on the sideline. Now, Jim Harbaugh on 3rd and 1, down by 3 in the fourth quarter, might say, "Hey, let's run this play."
right.
But I don't think 80%, 90% of the play calls are not coming from Harbaugh. He might say to his coordinator when they're losing, "Hey, let's get back to running the ball," or "Hey, let's go outside instead of inside." But I don't think he's saying this play is going to be a trap on the inside or whatever.
No, I think there are calls that he makes or that he says, "No, we're not running that. We're running this, or we're running something else." But
and more importantly, he's deciding once they get to the 45 if they're going to go for it on 4th down and those kinds of things, or are they going to kick a field goal or go for it, all those types of things. But so let me ask it this way then, Ted. These are primarily 18 to 22-year-old young men playing the game.
Right.
And when you play at Michigan, you're clearly used to being on television, playing high-profile games in front of 100,000 fans. So you would think those kinds of athletes, all of the hubbub around Harbaugh, the other 6 days of the week, you would think that a young man that can thrive in the pressure cooker that is Michigan outside of this issue would be fine with this issue and it wouldn't impact him. Do you think it's possible that, like this week when they go to the Juggernaut, or when they're playing Ohio State in a couple weeks, is it possible that all of this falderall eventually is going to make the players somehow saying, "Oh gosh, that's really bothering me and I can't perform at my highest level today"?
I think that would have been this past week because it's sudden, right? And he finds out on the plane. That means the players find out on the plane. Next week, they're already used to it, and they're playing Maryland. And so that's going to be a little bit of a help probably, or almost certainly. And then when they do play Ohio State, they're used to, doing things this other way. So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact other than, 4th and 1, do we go for it or do we not? That kind of stuff.
Right. Now, and you could see it in the post-game interviews already on Saturday. There is clearly, and then you saw the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, put out like an Instagram or a tweet or something basically saying after Harbaugh was suspended, he said something like bet, which I think was saying, hey, bet on us. We're fine. But clearly the players and the other coaches have adopted a it's us against the world mentality.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that, okay, the initial shock would have been Penn State. This was the chance somebody had to beat them. Now they're just mad.
Right.
I mean, they're okay. You guys did that to us.
Right.
We are now going to take it out on everybody that gets in our way.
Okay.
I think that's the mentality.
A couple of other points about this that I wanted just to get to, Ted. So Harbaugh is suspended for the last 3 regular season games.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything yet about the Big Ten championship game or the
whatever bowl they go to,
or the playoff games. I think that what the Big Ten commissioner is trying to do is thread a needle here of saying to the other teams in the Big Ten, hey, look, I took action. I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the other hand, we have to remember that if Michigan makes it to the college playoffs, not only do they get money, the entire Big Ten gets money.
Yeah, but if Ohio State makes it, the same thing.
Right, but my point is, if you're the Big Ten commissioner, you want that payday.
Sure, of course, yeah.
So I think he's trying to thread the needle of saying to the other teams, hey, look, I took action, but at the same time, making the impact to the team such that they still have it. I don't think this is going to determine whether or not they win the Big Ten championship and go to the playoffs. Do you agree?
No, I don't think it matters that much now that they've gotten through the first week. My question is there an appeal process?
Well, I read today that there's going to be some type of hearing, and Harbaugh said, oh, yes, I'm going to speak at that hearing. I've got things to say.
Which means that maybe he, this might get to be like, an episode of Law and Order or something. And he goes in and says, okay, look, I got this. Yeah. I'm coaching against Ohio State. My suspension is over.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens, is that they beat Maryland. He has the hearing and then they beat Maryland. And then they go, well, yeah, he served enough time. We're going to let him go because it's Ohio State,
Or is it possible? You see, and here's the other thing,
or they just hate him so much that they're going to suspend him, right? Yeah,
right. But you were hearing that the suspension was going to come out imminently for a couple of days. Yeah. So the expectation is that for a couple of days, the Big Ten was having behind-the-scenes communications with Harbaugh and Michigan, and basically saying, "What will you accept?"
Well, yeah, I think that's one of those things where he goes, "Yeah, I'll take 3 games, but I get an appeal," and he's betting he's only going to serve 2 games.
Right, and I'm going to coach the Big Ten championship game, and I'm going to coach in the playoffs. Because and here's the other thing about all this, Ted, is, of course, the NCAA, which moves at a glacial pace.
Right.
The Big Ten did all this long before the NCAA has even come close to finishing their investigation.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to come out of that? But here's the final big picture of this before we go to the Patriots. I think it's highly likely that next football season, Jim Harbaugh is coaching somewhere in the NFL because he's going to look at this and go,
I don't need this. Yeah.
They're suspending me games for buying a kid a cheeseburger when he can make $1 million NIL.
Right.
And then when everybody else is trying to steal signs, they get me and they suspend me for something that everybody else is doing, if maybe not the same way I'm doing it.
Right.
What am I doing here?
Right. Yeah. And he's going to make just as much, if not more money. If not that I think he needs it, but and he's going to have, what if Washington wants him? They have Sam Howell, pretty good starting, right now. He's pretty good young quarterback to build around.
Hey, Ted, the job that if I'm Harbaugh, I'm licking my chops over is after our Los Angeles Chargers lose again last week.
Yes.
Or yesterday.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you told me if I were Harbaugh's agent, I would be calling the senior people at the Chargers and saying, if my guy is available, are you interested?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
because
The only problem the Chargers is they don't usually pay.
I get that. But and now we're getting a little bit off the topic, but okay, so the Chargers lose yesterday against the Lions. Next week they have my Packers coming up, so that's a W.
Yeah, it's no guarantee.
It's a W, believe me.
Okay.
But my point is, let's say the Chargers finish 8-9 and don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This will be, I think, the third or fourth season with Staley, and all they've got for it is one playoff loss when they led by 20 at halftime.
And he was a defensive-minded coach.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing: if you're the general manager of the ownership of the Chargers, and the agent of Harbaugh reaches out to you and says, "Hey, look, we've had enough of Michigan. We're out. You're our first choice." I think the only way Brandon Staley's that if those things happen, I think the only way that Harbaugh's not the coach of the Chargers next year is if Staley somehow puts together a run and they make it, to the AFC championship game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if the whole season turns over and all of a sudden they look really great and they play really great and they win a bunch of games, yeah, he could save his job that way. That's the only way he's going to save it.
Right. Okay. Since we're going a little bit here,
we've gone into the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the NFL and we'll talk Bill Belichick. Okay. Another setting the scene here, Ted. Belichick has his 6 Super Bowl wins.
Yeah.
In the last 10 to and so with those 6 Super Bowl wins and the 20 years of excellence,
right,
with Brady in the salary cap era,
right,
and what they accomplished was an incredible feat in the current NFL salary cap era.
Well, it looks pretty good in any era, but yeah.
Okay. So he was deserving of a lot of praise. Okay. And much to my chagrin, because of my love of St. Vincent, everybody had pretty much said Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time.
Right.
With all of that. Okay. Let me throw some stats at you, Ted.
All right. Here we go.
You ready? The 20 years that Belichick and Brady were together in New England.
Right.
When Tom was under center, their record was 219-64 for a 77% winning percentage. Pretty good.
Yeah. You take it most of the time. Yeah.
Okay. Now, after this weekend's loss to the Gardner Minshew Colts in London.
Colts. Hey, don't, or no, it was in Germany, and don't get bad on Gardner Minshew. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah, but Ted, Mac Jones, former first-round pick, managed 6 points with his offense.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so in the since Brady has left, the Patriots are 27-33, 45% winning percentage. The total Patriots record for Belichick without Brady, 45-52, 46% winning percentage. You go back to Bill's tenure in Cleveland.
That's what I wanted to.
36-40, 45% winning percentage. Okay.
Right.
So according to NFL history, the greatest NFL coach of all time, Bill Belichick, in the games that he coached without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback, his combined record is 81-92 for a 47% winning percentage.
Not so hot. Yeah, I mean, it's not so hot. Yeah. Brady made a lot of things better. I mean, you have to give Belichick some credit for putting the roster together on some level, but the things that he was doing, they worked because he had Brady and he had Gronk and he had Wes Welker, and so he got a couple of extra guys, but this whole thing now where he's just throwing guys in and out and he cuts guys and he brings the same thing he was doing with Brady doesn't work because Mac Jones ain't Brady.
Right. And let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And he was saying to people, hey, we got to go draft Rob Gronkowski. Let's just
Right.
give him the benefit of the doubt. How many other really good draft picks has he made? Now, and particularly in the last 5 years or so. When you look at his draft picks, I love Christian Gonzalez, the kid they drafted to play cornerback. He's hurt right now, but I think he's going to be a big time player. Other than that, you've got Ramondre Stevenson, who they got in the 4th round, and a few other starters. But he does not have, in the last 5 years, tell me a Pro Bowl level player that Belichick has drafted since he's been in control of player personnel.
No, no, he's he's not Jimmy Johnson picking all those guys, in Dallas. It's not the same thing.
And here's my other concern. If I'm Robert Kraft, the current NFL landscape primarily is dominated by offensively oriented head coaches.
Right.
Tomlin is a very good head coach. Sean McDermott has had very good success with the Bills, but Andy Reid, Sirianni,
the guy in Miami,
McDaniel, Shanahan, all of these guys are now. We might have a new exception to the rule down in Houston with DeMeco Ryans now that he has C.J. Stroud from the Ohio State University.
Don't get too excited just yet.
Okay. Hey, Ted, everybody says he's an MVP candidate. But anyway,
no, what I'm saying is they're playing a last place schedule. Let's not get too excited yet.
Okay. So in the current NFL, where I think we agree that to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, you have to have a big-time offense and a big-time quarterback. Are we agreed?
Either that, or you have to have a situation where you have a guy on a rookie contract and somewhat of a reasonably stout defense.
Yeah. Okay. So with that as the backdrop, based on what you've seen from Mac Jones his best season from a overall standpoint, completion percentage, yards per attempt, yards per game, passer rating, all of those, Mac Jones' best season was his rookie year, and he's gotten worse each of the next 2 years after that. If you're Robert Kraft and you somehow fall into the first or second pick of this coming draft, and you have Caleb Williams or Drake May sitting there for you, would you have a great deal of confidence in in Belichick's ability with his coaching staff to develop one of those two guys into an elite NFL quarterback? Lost you again. Go now. Let's try it now, Ted. No. Go out and come back in.